So drones, GoPros, iPhones, high-quality, low-price pieces of gear are being used to document stories and even shoot feature films now. Look at GoPro and The Martian. It's a new era of storytelling and storytellers, with technology being harnessed for the future in cinema, on TV screens, laptops, and mobile devices everywhere. Never has there been a better time where storytelling is in the hands of creative folks everywhere at any time. Our storytellers that we're going to bring on stage will share their secrets from the field and how they harness technology to create content for a multi-platform universe faster, cheaper, and better than ever before. So please join me in welcoming this incredible panel. Photographer and director Joey L. Come on, Joey. Phoning it in creator from WFAA-TV, Mike Castellucci. Go, good. Filmmaker, Filipe DeAndrade. And your moderator, Senior Vice President, Global Creative Director, Nat Geo Channels Worldwide, the one and only Andy Baker.
Thank you, Niels. So I wanted to kick off today's panel, appropriately enough, with a video. So let's check this out.
I like it.
Wait, you shot that?
Your sister shot this?
She calls it onions.
It's beautiful. And it's just an onion.
Put this on our homepage now. People need to see this.
The rules of cinema have changed.
This is the work of a major artist.
I shot the whole thing on an iPhone.
I'm gonna make a movie about snap peas.
Who's gonna watch a movie about snap peas?
Can I have 3 tickets to onions, please?
This was like seeing the onion on a molecular level.
This is talent. Why are we not representing it?
Now I know the truth.
4K on an iPhone. Wake up, people. That's poetry.
And the winner is, no surprise here, onions.
So I thought that was the perfect way to kick off today's panel, which is, as Neil said, all about the new technology of storytelling and the incredible tools that we all have at our disposal really easily to capture incredible stories and even better at a really high quality. I mean, it wasn't that long ago that 4K video was sort of this Valhalla of like, oh, you're shooting in 4K, and now it's like literally on your iPhone. So it's pretty amazing. And in this new content era that we're all living in, and we've heard it over the last day and a half or so, it's like, it's not just about the big flashy 30-second promo, it's about creating all this other content for all these different platforms, whether it's digital, social, experiential, live, online, wherever it is. There's just so much more content to fill. And of course, it's not like our budgets are going up in order to fill that content with all this extra stuff. So, in many cases, our budgets might be going down. So how do we fill that content pipeline with new and innovative stories and do it at a really high quality so that our brands all still feel like they're where they need to be? So today we're going to be talking about what those tools are, and the main big 3 are iPhones, GoPros, and drones. I'm sure many of you, or most of all of you, have probably shot at least on one of those pieces of technology. And the key today is we're going to talk about how to do it and do it even better, and do it even higher quality for your viewers, for your audience, to sort of feel like this is storytelling to take it to the next level. So we've assembled an incredible panel today of storytellers and filmmakers that in their own way have really innovated and found new ways to take this technology that we all have access to and find a different way to tell their story and a way to kind of elevate it even more. So, and one quick piece of housekeeping, if you didn't know, when you came in, you got a ticket. So at the end of today's session, you're going to get a lot of really helpful tips and tricks about shooting with these devices, and then we're going to give them away to you. So we have a raffle at the end of session. So someone sitting in this room, 3 people in this room will walk away with either a GoPro, so we're going to give away 2 GoPros, and we're also going to give away a DJI Phantom 4 drone. So it's pretty awesome. So huge thanks to our sponsors for this. Yes. Yeah, let's give it up, right? So a huge thank you to our sponsors, 2C Creative, and then we at National Geographic Channel also sponsoring that giveaway. So the goal here is you're going to walk out of here with some great information and insight in order to tell your stories even better and take it back to your office and shoot great content. Or if you don't want to tell your boss you won and you want to take it home and shoot videos of your dog, you can do that too. It's up to you. So first up on our panel here of our storytellers is Filipe DeAndrade. And Filipe is a wildlife photographer and filmmaker who's traveled all over the world. He just came back from New Zealand on a big trip, and he's shot with tons of different ranges of technology. And he really brings great insight into this world of new technology. So Filipe, do you want to give us a little bit about your background and what you do?
100%. Can you guys hear me all right? Yeah. All right, all right, there we go. So yeah, Filipe DeAndrade. My name gets botched a lot, so don't feel bad if you do. My mom calls me Philippe's. That sounds like a venereal disease, so let's stay away from that. So I was born in Brazil, and going back to my mom, she's like the Chiquita banana lady. So out of the womb, we were in the Amazon, taking trips outdoors, floating down the Pantanal, and it was the greatest way to be born and the greatest way to live your early years. And then we went to Ohio. So the outdoors always stuck in me, so I studied film and wildlife in college, and after college, I hiked the Appalachian Trail, refound my love for the outdoors, and thought to myself, maybe I can turn this into a reality, into a career, into a life. So the first video that we'll show is my submission to National Geographic Wild that won me a trip to Africa in 5 different countries, where I went at the end of last year and the beginning of this year. But this video is part of that submission, not the whole thing, so don't judge it entirely on that. So. The minute that I picked up a camera, that's when I found my voice. And I learned out there, you have to take the failures along with the success. It's long hours, equipment failures, and you miss so many more shots than you get. But when it all comes together and you just nail a shot, there is no greater feeling in the world. I think that life is a series of adaptations. And through our experiences, we're meant to become better because of our hardships, not in spite of them. My life's passion is to use my camera to inspire others to fall in love with the wild, the same way that I have.
Beautiful work, and what I think is cool is like there's a lot of mixed media, like there's lots of different technology used in that video, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So I took my mom's car out, slept in the back of it, so obviously funds were limited, so I had to work with whatever I had, and then, you know, that was in a range from GoPro to DSLR to iPhone, and then the 4K and super slow-mo stuff I couldn't afford, so I just rented, and that's the secret to anything is when you don't have the money, rent.
Yeah. Well, it's beautiful, and the passion is that you can feel it too in the filmmaking. So nice job. So our next panelist is Mike Castellucci. So Mike comes to us from Dallas at channel WFAA, And what Mike brings is a really unique perspective, and that is he creates an entire TV show, news segments that are shot completely on an iPhone. And I think Mike has a really unique approach to how he tells his stories, and the fact that he's using technology that we all have in our pocket, but does it in a really high quality way, is pretty awesome. So Mike, do you want to tell us a little bit about your story and
Thanks.
how you kind of got to iPhones?
First of all, I want to know, did the buffalo get you?
The buffalo did not get me.
Okay,
Almost
good.
got my gear though.
Okay. I'm Mike. Hi, you guys. Thanks for having me here. While he was growing up, floating down the Amazon, I was stuck in Salida, Colorado, hoping for a Taco Bell. So I work for WFAA Channel 8 in Dallas, Texas. It's a Tegna station. They own 46 stations across the country. It used to be Gannett. And one day, my boss came to me and said, could you shoot an entire story on an iPhone? And I thought, I'll try. Anybody remember the flip camera, 120 bucks from Target, about 5 years ago? Remember that? No external microphone. About 5 years ago, just as a creative outlet, I did a whole half-hour show on a flip camera. And it's all about, I learned that it's all about planning, and that really is what it's like with an iPhone. This is the beginning of a 30-minute program called Phoning It In. Take a look at this.
Can I get another stinger?
In life.
What's going on?
Not much.
Not much can mean extraordinary.
What are you doing?
Not much.
The people there, or here, or here. Do you ever wonder what their story might be?
I do something no one else in Texas has accomplished.
That 10-year-old surely can't have life experiences that could inspire anyone, could she? What if you could start up a conversation with someone on the street? Ask them how their human experience is turning out.
You have to have that human-to-human contact.
What they're doing to make it meaningful. Do they even realize they may be inspiring someone else?
I'm etch-a-sketching and Facebooking. I'm multitasking.
Common people doing uncommon things. It makes sense to capture it all on a common device. A half hour documented entirely on my phone.
How many phones?
Well, just this one. Well, actually, this one. This one's just a dummy prop.
Well, we're ready.
Not gonna need you today.
This is a show, right?
A production.
It might seem like a big production to document the human condition. But not this one. Just me, phoning it in with my phone.
I would find that a little difficult.
A common instrument.
You have got some lenses on the phone, but you've also got
recording
the flashlight.
Common folks, or are they?
Yeah. Nice. What I think is so great about what you do, and we're going to talk more about iPhone a little bit later in the presentation, but it's just like that you would see that and you wouldn't know that it was an iPhone. It's just, it feels like it could be shot on any camera, and that's a real testament to what we've done, the kind of the brand you've built for that show. So,
yeah.
Excellent.
And only one phone, by the way.
And
that's the biggest question I
yes,
get.
yeah.
How many did you use?
And we'll talk more about it, because I think one of the biggest questions is like, how do you have the battery space, or how do you have the drive space? So nicely done. And so our last panelist is Joey L. So Joey L is he's primarily known as a still photographer. He's a world-renowned still photographer. He's worked with us on many campaigns for a lot of our big key art, whether it's Killing Kennedy, Killing Lincoln. We've done Life Below Zero. He's done posters for Twilight, and he's done a ton of work in the still photography realm. But of course, we're talking today about video. So one of the things Joey has done is he's created his own digital series that's shot entirely on GoPro called Dudes with Cameras. So everyone should write that down and go check it out. It's a great web series. And I'm going to keep this up, and Joey's going to talk a little bit about Dudes with Cameras and how it came about. But I think it's a great example of using GoPro and finding new and innovative ways to sort of showcase your stories.
Yeah, sure. So while I'm talking, maybe we can keep the audio down on this video. I'll just explain how this came to be, but basically I'm a still photographer, and my whole career I've actually been documenting my photo shoots at the same time as trying to do them. And it always used to be the case where we'd have like a camera person come with us that was just dedicated to document our shoot. But after a while, as you know, like on set with clients, having an extra person there in everybody's face with a huge camera became burdensome. On a lot of the trips that I went on, even personal trips, you know, taking someone with me and having to pay for all their expenses just became like another hassle. So when the GoPro came out, at first I actually didn't believe in the technology until someone who works with me named Jesse Corman, he's our digital tech, started filming our shoots on GoPro. And I was blown away by how far the technology had got. So basically what Dudes with Cameras became is a web series that we could film ourselves while still dedicating our full time on set to like our real job, but also walk away with behind the scenes. So after every photo shoot that we film, what we do is we get together and sit around microphones, podcast style, and reminisce on the shoot. And then our buddy James cuts our GoPro footage to our talking, but we mount them on everything. It could be like a plane like you see here, the front of my camera, mounted to our assistants' heads. Like the GoPro is so versatile that I can give it to somebody who's never even filmed something before and be like, narrate and walk around the set. And sometimes we actually get some pretty good stuff that way. So so what you're seeing now is a mixture of all of that kind of stuff.
Lots of sticks too, lots of sticks and devices. I think that's what's fun about it, is they really embrace the GoPro for this series.
Yeah, we try to use it not to make it look, you know, sexy or cinematic, but sort of just play up the fact that it's funny and we're filming it. And the other thing I want to mention is that like the way I see photography is almost like the way we do photo shoots or these travel assignments is almost like a small business, like family business. And I actually want to show our videos to future clients to show our work ethic and how we are on set, which is like fun, passionate guys, but also serious when we shoot. So actually, I send these kind of videos ahead to new clients and be like, this is how our crew works. And for better or for worse, that they get what they paid for.
Have you ever had someone say like, oh, please don't do this, or you know, anything like that? Is it ever?
The thing is, with Dudes with Cameras, no, because we film on such small tools, it's usually not a problem. We've had people say no many times to having an extra camera person there, because that's another person to send, another mouth to feed, blah, blah, blah. But when you're just filming with a little GoPro, people don't really take it seriously, although it's like 4K, beautiful footage. So that's how we've been able to get away with it. And honestly, we shoot it most of the time anyway, and maybe we'll send our client a rough edit to get it approved before it comes out. And usually the reaction, I mean, at least from people like you, Andy, is like, oh, you're helping us promote our shoot also. So as long as it comes out after, there's usually not a problem.
That's one of the benefits that we've had in hiring Joey, is sometimes we get, you know, to fill this content pipeline we've been talking about. It's like, oh, he's creating something anyway, and again, it helps promote the show. That one you saw was for a shoot they did in Alaska for Life Below Zero, and that piece has gone online and it's been on Vimeo and gotten lots of views, so it's another piece. So segueing now into GoPro, let's talk a little bit about the camera itself and like, how do you guys like to use it? Like, what makes it distinctive? And then I guess most importantly, like what do you guys do that other people might not be doing, or that you're able to kind of capitalize on?
Well, one thing I wanted to mention quickly, actually, so having studied, you know, film at a university and gone through the rules and how you stick to them and how you never break them. And I'm sure, as you guys mentioned on the phone when we talked, people always say, how come your stuff looks better than mine? You know, you're using a phone, you're using a GoPro. And if you guys look at what they just put together, there's cutaways, there's tights, mediums, wides, there's interesting angles, and there's all the elements that make up a good film just with a different device. So that's probably why you guys get that question more than anything else, is, but you still have that film approach, and it doesn't matter what device you're using, it's just applying that background, knowing the rules, and then breaking them.
I've heard a lot about storytelling here this morning at different sessions, and for me that's what it's all about, is telling the story, and it doesn't matter what device it's on, as long as you can tell it in an engaging and an emotional way, and that involves pacing and editing and so forth and everything like that. But it also is just about the human experience, and so it doesn't matter what device it is.
Yeah, I think for me, like the most important thing that I do, at least with the GoPro, is like we've all seen behind the scenes videos where like someone's sitting in a chair, like recounting the shoot, and it's like mixed with traditional cutaways and stuff. When I first started messing with the GoPro, it reminded me a little bit of like a first-person perspective because it has a slightly like wide, distorted lens, and usually you're like filming from here or like the chest. So I think when people watch either Dudes with Cameras or some more serious videos that I've made, they're interpreting it in actually like a new way because it's a new tool, because it's like as if it's from the eyes of somebody. So for example, on some Dudes with Cameras episode, you'll see like my hand come out and do things. It's like a video game, like a first-person shooter game, but maybe a camera instead. But for me, it was honestly really liberating to use such a small tool because it allowed the viewer to be in your actual shoes as you're working. So that for me was special.
In a lot of ways, it seems like then the editorial and the way that you take all that footage and kind of bring it back, that's really what can help kind of raise the bar on what you're creating then.
Yeah.
It's actually helped me tell stories, to be honest. When I first went out with an iPhone from a big TV station and got to the subject was visibly underwhelmed that I was there. He's like, "Where's the cameraman?" And I was like, "Don't worry, it'll be all right." And he still was shaky about it. But since then, it seems like it's gone the opposite way. It's gone the opposite way of, for instance, with that little 10-year-old Girl Scout that you saw. It really eased her. I mean, everybody, it's native to her, even an iPhone. And so just shooting with an iPhone with somebody, they seem to be very relaxed, and it's not intimidating at all.
Yeah, and it's interesting because like the different approach that we talked about before on stage, like Joey very much celebrates the GoPro look. Like you said, like that wide angle, it's personal, it's, you know, the way you would see the world. And I feel like I'm always working with 5 or 6 different cameras on sets. So I'm always like, okay, gotta shoot neutral, gotta, you know, shoot medium field of view and take that distortion out so that it can cut in with other cameras and not stand out so much. I love that it's small, I love that you can place it anywhere, but I don't want it to stand out in the edit. So it still comes down to knowing your gear and getting the most out of it, you know?
Yeah, no, that's an interesting point because that's where our style kind of differs, is like, because when we're doing a photo shoot on set, is like, I have like a huge actual still camera that's way bigger than a GoPro, and we're trying to make like a high quality poster for one of Andy's shows or something high quality. And that cut between the like quirky GoPro look to the actual photo is the thing that's like, oh wow, these guys are actually like making something good. So that actually like helps Dudes with Cameras like be a little bit more raw and intimate. But I totally get what, you know, something like you're working on where it's like the GoPro has to mix into all this other footage that you got, and the viewer shouldn't know the difference. Yeah.
And so here's some of the other, we talked before the session about some of the other kind of GoPro tips and tricks. Any of these others you guys want to expound on? I know accessorize the big one, Joey. You've got, you know, you use your GoPro so much, you've probably got some pretty cool toys. That,
no, I actually brought it. Hold on.
Oh, cool.
And this company doesn't pay me anything for this, by the way. So like the biggest thing for me with GoPro is like, so I filmed an entire documentary on this thing, and basically the biggest plus, let's say, for GoPro is that it's so small you can take it anywhere, but because it's so small you also get a lot of like handheld camera shake. So this is a gimbal. There's like a million different companies that make them. This is a Chinese company called Feiyutech. I got it on Amazon, and like this thing is literally 90% of the GoPro stuff that I have. It's the same gimbal that you can find on the bottom of a drone that stabilizes the camera, but it's handheld, so I can like walk around with this thing and get really beautiful, smooth shots. I can like turn it around this style for some videos where like I'm in it, explaining, talking to the camera. And the thing is like, it always feels fly on the wall. Like it always feels like I'm holding it, which is good for me. And then like I can like be talking, and when I'm working, I can remember like, oh shit, like I got to get like a cutaway of like where I'm walking to, and just like how you were talking about like good editing, it's like I can put those two together, but it's always from like a first person perspective.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So that's why I like this thing.
And it fits in your bag, so you're more likely to whip it out.
Yeah, that's the other thing. Is like I'm not like, oh, maybe I'll take out my huge camera and set up a lens, or maybe I don't know, and then I'll miss something. Yeah, this thing's like usually strapped to me.
Super easy. And then real quick too, and then we'll move on to our next one is just audio, making sure that, do you want to talk a little bit about audio learnings you've had with GoPro?
So that's the biggest. When I hiked the Appalachian Trail, I bought a GoPro out on the trail, and I was like, oh, I'll just keep the waterproof case, because why wouldn't you when you're in the woods the whole time? And after hiking for 4 months, and then I finally got to a computer, finally got to where I could look at everything I'd been shooting, I was like, oh, I can't hear shit, because it's been in that waterproof case the whole time. So I learned the hard way. So always keep the waterproof and the non-waterproof. That way, if you know you're gonna get audio and it's vital. Are you recording right now?
Recording right now. This is gonna be
Dude,
a future Dudes with Cameras episode.
dudes on stage.
Dudes at Promax.
Wait, guys. A quick cutaway. Oh, everyone's laughing.
Perfect.
Oh, that was
Awesome. So that's GoPro. So let's move on, just so we make sure we have time to get through everything. So let's talk a little bit more about the iPhone and sort of like segue into how you guys have used iPhone. Again, as we saw in that video at the top, like 4K, it's pretty amazing. And so, Mike, do you want to kind of kick us off with a little bit of some of your big learnings you've had with iPhone?
Quickly, this is I did the whole second show with this, and it's basically you just put your iPhone in it, and it's. Have anybody seen these something like this?
Hold it up too, so that side I can see over there too.
Over there, it's just 3 lenses, and so it's wide angle and 2 times telephoto. And then a fisheye.
And what's that brand? What's that?
This is Izzy Gadgets.
Okay.
IzzyGadgets.com, IZZI, and I don't get anything from them either. And this is a cool thing. And I always, 99% of the time, it's on a tripod. I didn't bring it. It's a little tripod. But this is it's called RetiCam, RetiCam. And I found it's the best, mount for it. And you just put a tripod on there. And so you can always carry a little tripod, and it's very, it's almost like a gimbal. It's just kind of like a human gimbal. Now I'm getting really stupid, and I've got a lot of stuff. This is called, thanks, Beast Grip, and you put the phone right in here.
That's sick.
Yeah, and it's from some guys in Chicago, and it's really nice to be able to do that. And then you can also mount, I've got a little Rode microphone, shotgun mic.
That's awesome.
And then also, I didn't bring it, but it's just a lavalier pack with a transmitter, a wireless transmitter on here.
It's awesome. I mean, the accessories are starting to become even, like, they're disrupting and evolving so much. I actually had a video too that this went around the internet a few months ago, just like using the iPhone. This guy created something called the Centrophone, which is he created this thing, 3D printed himself, the device that he put his phone into, and he can whip it around his head and shoot it in slow-mo. And it's really cool because people are taking the new technology. It's like the phone itself is not necessarily new technology. It's like what people are doing with it and how we're almost like crowdsourcing how we shoot stuff. So it's pretty awesome. It's a really cool technology he's using, and now he's given open models so like people can like 3D print this themselves and create it. And this is what it looks like. So he literally sort of did a bunch of test runs and demos and stuff like that. So it's pretty cool how people are adapting technology. So Mike, when you first started working with the iPhone, like, did you encounter a lot of resistance from like cameramen and stuff
photographers?
Like that? How did you kind of get past that?
Who said I was putting them out of a job?
Right.
That's not the case. It's just they're always going to be great photojournalists and storytellers. I started it as a creative outlet for myself, but it is evolving because anybody could do it. We were talking about this on the phone, that the reason everybody doesn't do it is because we've been in the business a long time, and there's some skill to being a storyteller. I hate to talk about myself like that, but I mean, there is a skill to storytelling, right? So, but still, you can use this equipment. Anybody can, and create great content. It's just very, like this right here. I took this to Dublin, Ireland, and I forgot my tripod, so I didn't have a tripod for any of this. I just put it up against, I was either carrying it, putting it up against walls, putting it on a table, whatever the case may be. And you just, you don't walk, when you have it in your hand, you don't walk like you're walking on hot coals. you walk like you're walking on glass very carefully. And I think if you just, and that's just holding it very steady against your body.
And the quality is so good too. Like, what are you, in terms of that, what I asked about earlier, memory and stuff like that, like, there's clearly shot, you know, and it looks really fantastic. Like, how do you have any battery, you know, tips or tricks about how you get around stuff? Or
the first, yes, I do. The first half-hour show, I shot completely on a 16 gig iPhone. Wow. And I found that by keeping the files short, even if I was interviewing someone, I'd ask them a question and then move. Ask them a question and then move, turn it off, turn it on. So I have very little files, nothing over 2 minutes long. So I could usually do a story like this with about 4 gigs of space.
Yeah.
So it's just planning a little bit and knowing what you're getting.
Look at all the cutaways too. Again, going back to that film rule, like coverage.
Right. And the audio is all clean. Yeah. It's not. She has a lav on that you can see, and it was very windy out there. So no tripod, but I got around it.
Awesome. And then we've got another video here too. If we could bring the audio down in this, please, too. This is Filipe. You guys shot this on iPhone as well, right?
Yeah. So I got back from Africa. I had 5 days in the States, and then I flew out to New Zealand. And day one, I had 20 miles of river crossing through this infamous river in New Zealand that's killed 30 people in the last 10 years trying to cross it. So that was my first day out on the trail. And we're doing a documentary series on the world's newest thru hike. It's a 2,000-mile long trip from the top of the North Island to the bottom of the South Island. And I had to film the characters as they're crossing a day's worth of river streams. As you can see, it's pretty fast-moving water. And I'm built like a Teddy Graham, so being 5'5", you don't want to be the guy that gets swept down, especially they're like, oh, we've got this camera guy coming from Africa, like badass, and I'm almost the one that died. Almost immediately, as you can see right there, I get swept out. So we had to interlock poles. That sounds weird. We had to, they held out their hiking poles and we walked to the next bank and then had to do it all over again. But the point is, you got to get the shot. You can't come up with excuses. So the only way to do it, I wasn't going to be bogged down by weight. I took my phone out there. I have a waterproof case called a Life Proof. And then it all leads to this last little river crossing at the end of the day, this beautiful aerial that we got to tell the story of these 2 hikers who, you know, are almost completing their journey. And the crazy thing that most people don't see is the camera guy almost dying. You know, really it all looks great. New Zealand, go there. It's like Mother Nature's birth canal, and then you might lose a few people.
So in that case, the iPhone was helpful because it's like it's just because you're okay with losing it, or it's because you can hold it in your hand so much easier.
Well, you know what's interesting is the longer you're out there, the less okay you are with losing it because of the great moments that you have. And when you're doing projects like, you know, if you guys are filming remote, which I'm sure everybody here has done, you don't have every day to back up. So as those moments start to pile up on your phone, that phone becomes increasingly more important. So I find that it's always beneficial to have, I know it's not always like the case, but even a second one where I have like a throwaway phone, or if I have my personal one and then I have one that's in a waterproof case, the iPhone is an insane, it's up there with anything else. I mean, I have 3 now, 2 of which I just use to film, and then my personal one. But you can, and we were talking about this yesterday, I think it might be the best action camera out there and the best documentary camera, because to what, especially what you do, like you pull it out and people don't think twice, but to act the way that they are. Those moments that you get like with characters and you try to get these guys out there hiking to break down emotionally and cry in front of the camera, they're not going to do it if you have something on your shoulders. But if you're kind of holding something down here, you know, you might just kind of catch something.
I thought it was very telling when I did a first story and I sent it to our chief editor, and he had no idea that it was shot with anything different than our $80,000 camera. So that's kind of telling.
That's pretty cool. Yeah. And so here's some tips and tricks these guys assembled too. Using his BTS camera, it's not that different from like GoPro. And have you guys ever, you know, been in a spot where you need to use an iPhone for your stuff, or considered using it?
Yeah, I've been in situations where like I just don't have my camera with me. I'm like, oh, what's the next best thing? iPhone. And the other thing too is like, you know, I'm sure everyone here is like, if they have iPhone or whatever phone, they've gone through multiple versions of that. The old iPhone that you have could become one of your action cameras that you take a little more risks on, because like you're not worried about losing your actual like cell phone, right? Because like sometimes when they update iPhones, they don't update the camera, maybe some other feature or other processor, but the chip is still the same across the board, sometimes through multiple generations. So you could take a little bit more risks on that one.
Exactly.
Yes.
And can I say one? Oh, sorry.
Oh, no, I was just going to say, by the way, Apple has never even said hello to me. So just want to get that out. We were the first ones to broadcast a half-hour show just on an iPhone. And then Modern Family did it.
Yes, they did
and
the whole show.
I'm sure they got some help from Apple.
Yes.
Can I see your phone really quick, actually? I want to show you guys one thing, because I've scanned through terabytes, believe it or not, of footage from the iPhone from this documentary. So 3 things, and it goes a long way. Whenever you start to shoot, everybody knows this, but press and lock down on your subject, because so many times you'll see the focus drifting in and out. So just lock down on the subject, and then you'll get that sun bar to the right of the focus square. Just bring that down a hair, because it tends to overcompensate for the contrast. So just bring it down a hair, and then fingers spread out like this. That's it. Those 3 things, and iPhone will go a million miles. That's another thing. People just tend to do this, and then you just get hangnails in the shot.
Bad stuff. Awesome. Great iPhone insights. So let's move to drones, the last of our sort of big 3 new technology and new tools. And I think I'll talk a little over this. You know, just like with the Centrophone and just like all these other new technology, you know, the drone is also being disrupted, and the drone is being evolved as well. And there's a couple examples here in this video. This first one is called a Lily, which has been in beta testing. I believe it's coming out later this year. And this sort of eliminates the difficulty of the drones might possess, which is like, I have to know how to operate it. I need to, you know, remote control it. This thing does it itself. It just follows you. You have a tracking device on your wrist, and it follows wherever you're going, as well as the fact that, you know, it can, you know, shoot all these really cool shots and get great drone aerials. It can also go underwater. So you'll see this, you know, watch this. This is, boom, it comes out. Incredible, right? So like the drone technology is changing so rapidly, and this is something that's even cooler. This is in early testing as well. It's called a hover camera. It's ultra lightweight, carbon fiber, and it doesn't require any knowledge. All you have to do is literally release it and push it, and it'll follow you. Again, 4K imagery, you know, same sort of thing. So again, even the basic technology of drones is being, you know, constantly disrupted and evolved into new and exciting things as well. So you guys want to talk a little bit, Joey? I know you've got some, you had some really cool experiences with drones as well and taken them on some trips. And I failed to mention at the beginning that Joey's also had he's gone to Syria a couple times in the last year and a half or so, and shot some incredible stories, Vimeo staff pics, and gotten tons of views for the work he's done. So you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, sure. So I first went to Iraq and Syria last year in March, and the whole time I was like, man, I should have brought a drone. That would have been pretty crazy, just because it gives you such a unique aerial perspective, and on the front lines, the amount of danger of like picking your head up sometimes is just not worth it. So the first trip I was kind of kicking myself for not bringing it, and then I went back in November to December. I was there for 45 days, and like I was doing a photo project, but similar to Dudes with Cameras, but I guess a more serious version of Dudes with Cameras, was I was filming a behind the scenes video. And I brought the drone with me. I didn't have a plan, but just in case the situation called for it. And the clip that we have is filmed on GoPro, but it's actually me doing an aerial drone shot in which us flying the drone actually became part of the behind the scenes itself. So it's like Inception within Inception of behind the scenes. Yeah. But it kind of, for me, it was a really humanizing segment, because, you know, we're with a Kurdish militia who's fighting against Islamic State, and we still have time to find use for a drone.
Okay,
so
cool.
This is what that clip is.
Although the fighting in the mountain was over, there was still danger everywhere. ISIS had left behind traps to slow down their pursuers. This wall is now the new front line. And this road leads directly to Yazidi villages under the control of ISIS. But just ahead, there's a hidden threat. A spotter had noticed some strange patterns in the dirt road, a trigger for a mine. Buried in the ground, there's a water tank with 3 tons of explosives inside of it. If it wasn't found, the results would have been devastating. Before the guerrillas can advance further, they send one of their own mine experts to deactivate the bombs. But it's not like in the movies. It basically means he's going to place a smaller bomb on top of the bigger bomb, duck inside the safety of a trench, and blow them both up.
اتام بلا او حواله وی تپجی وان آگاهدار بنا او حوال وی تشتکی بفرینه یک جور یک جی او تشتکی هم نه بفرینن همه بفرینن نه ایمه حواله مالی نخه ده بياز الليخم
شون داده بيت پشت داره؟ آره پر
جو هیدی بچه چقدر پات بيجي کار را که عجبه تمام تمام
This is the laughter of not losing any friends to such a deadly trap.
Yes.
More mines ahead would make the guerrillas advance slow and treacherous, but for now, it was best to seize the moment.
I think that's an awesome story and nice job. I think the point that illustrates so well is like you've got these new tools of technology to tell stories, and you don't use it just because you can, but you use it as a way to tell the story. And I think that's what makes this special. It's not just an aerial shot, beauty shot. It's like it's used as a tool within the story itself. So it's really, really cool.
Thanks. Yeah, there would have been really no other safe way to get that shot. Like you could see after the explosion, we had set up a GoPro like on the road, but it doesn't really give you like the full effect of the road and where it's buried and like how devastating it actually could have been if a car were to drive over it.
Yeah. Every time I see that explosion, it's crazy. So we're running out of time here. So these are our drone tips and tricks. Any of you guys want to hit on about these specifically, just for the audience here today? Bring lots of batteries.
Yeah, especially when you're at elevation.
And then I think with those new tools that are coming out, like the fact that they're getting simpler and simpler to operate too. I mean, like I don't know how much training you had in terms of learning how to drive them or how difficult it is, but.
Well, the thing is they're so simple to use because I live here in New York and I can't exactly practice flying a drone. They give us a really hard time.
In DC,
here.
it's like illegal too because of no fly zones.
Yeah, so the only practice I had was like a park, and I was like, okay, I think I get it. But I think the main thing is just knowing good shots and just like going really slow and not trying to like overdo the drone effect. Like I think, at least my first time, my intuition said just to like fly it around as fast as I could, and that didn't really make good shots at all. When I slowed it down and sort of took the shot like step by step of how it would look, whether it's filming with anything, but just from a new perspective, that's what I try to do with the drone.
Excellent. And what you see here, it's really ultimately it's all about the story, right? It's not just about the tool. And you guys want to touch on this part and how can we make sure like from a quality standpoint we always deliver what we want to.
Yeah, it is. It's all about storytelling. And in fact, it seems like I've been in this business long enough where it seems like it wasn't about storytelling a while ago, and now it seems everything is about that. So very important, and it doesn't matter what technology you're using, it's going to change tomorrow, but just if you just keep that in mind and try to do engaging, emotional storytelling, that's what it's all about. That's what anybody cares about.
Yeah, I was going to say that it's so easy to become enamored with these devices also, like, oh my God, it's shooting 3D, and like it doesn't necessarily mean that itself is going to be the main device to tell the story. So all the same principles, of course, they still exist. There's just sort of a new way to do it. and it unlocks it for everybody also.
Yeah, and it's ultimately about like just getting the hell out there. I mean, all of us are trying to tell stories all the time, whatever we do. It's just putting yourself out there, making yourself uncomfortable, and growing from that, ultimately. The devices that we have, I mean, I can't remember what I shot half my stuff on, so what does it matter anymore? But I do remember those experiences, and I have those moments that will live with me forever. It's just being out there.
And the great thing is, like, anyone can do it, but I think you guys have done an incredible job of doing it, better than anybody else, and hopefully everybody feels like they've learned some really cool tips and tricks about how they can do it as well.